Yeah. If anyone can confirm that my screen is being shared and I'm audible. We'll wait 2-3 minutes more and then we'll start. Yeah. If someone can confirm I'm audible. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we'll wait 1 more minute and then we can start with this presentation, right? Meanwhile, if anyone is facing any technical difficulties, you can comment in the chat box. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm audible. Okay. That's great. Right. So hopefully today we'll learn something new about open source, and this presentation will go without any technical errors, hopefully, right? So let's, yeah, okay. So I think participants have joined. So let's start with the presentation, right? So, hi everyone. Myself, Rohan Sharma. I'm a student mentor at AccioJob currently. Earlier, I was a DS instructor at web coding, right? So this is about me. So today we are going to discuss open source, right? So open source is like we people have a lot of different opinions about open source. Some are very fluent with open source, some are not really that into open source, and some people are not even able to understand like what is open source, because open source is such a topic which doesn't have any start or an end. You don't have a roadmap to open source, right? It is not a technology, you can say. So it is not a skill like which you can develop by reading a course or any courseware, right? So so if you can see, you should just take a screenshot. These are all the topics we'll be covering. So in this presentation, what we'll be going to do is firstly, for the absolute beginners, we'll be simply discussing what is open source, and like why do we need open source, and all the basics terminologies of open source, like what is push commit, like what is about merging a pull request, and all those technical terms regarding open source. Also we'll cover the basic terminology, like why do we need open source, and why should we contribute, what is the motivation behind contribution in open source, right? So this is all we are going to discuss now, right? Okay. So let's go ahead. So what is open source basically? So open source is a software. Open source software is something that is designed to be publicly accessible. Anyone can see, modify, and distribute the code as they fit, right? So do we mean by that? So open source software is a software, you can say, in which does not which is not controlled by one body, right? Which doesn't come under any organization, or you can say it like that. So people from all around the globe can contribute to that project, contribute the code, contribute anything. So open source also can be a code based project, or it can also be a documentation type of thing, where people don't directly contribute code, but they may you like contribute some information. For example, Wikipedia, we can say that in a way Wikipedia is open source, because you can give the information, like whatever information you want to provide to Wikipedia, so that they can verify and put there, right? So this is a collaborative effort. So open source is all about collaboration. So people work together to solve a problem, right? This is open source. So and like if I talk more about why is open source, like what is so special about a software which is being run by a community rather than a company, is you can say that, for example, you're using some services, right? So for example, you go to a restaurant, right? So in restaurant, you like say, you don't like a dish, maybe salt is a little bit more, right? You like a little bit less, or something is off in the dish. So you can give a feedback to the restaurant owners or the waiter, right? But you cannot directly change the dish itself, right? So for example, if there is a restaurant which is using like the wrong ingredients for a particular dish, you can give a feedback to the restaurant owners, but you cannot directly modify that dish from the cannot directly ask the chef to change the dish. But in open source software, for example, I am using a library in my project, right? Let's say I'm using Chakra UI in my project. So let's say, or maybe any other open source library, it can be any open source library. So let's say we are using PyMC in my project, right? So if for example I don't like anything about that particular, like I need that feature to be implemented, right? So what I can do is I can directly go to that screen, like the repository or whatever, wherever this open source thing is happening. We'll discuss in the in further like further slides. But I can go directly and I can directly raise an issue, and maybe if I know the technicalities, I can fix that issue myself without waiting for the delay or waiting for some software engineer to work on that, right? We can go ahead and fix issues for ourselves, right? Or maybe we can implement any feature which we want. So this is all about, this is the beauty of open source software, because people can directly collaborate with it. You can use open source software in within your maybe paid software, and you can modify it as per your convenience. This is about like what open source is all about, right? So yeah. So there's a question arises that why should we contribute to open source? Like, what is the benefit of contributing open source? Why can't we just focus on becoming our daily lives? And why do we need, unless and until we don't have to open source? For example, we want a feature to be implemented, so in that case we will have to give a contribution. But if we don't have to give a contribution, then why should we give a contribution? So open source projects give you exposure to real world projects. For example, you are a intern or maybe a college student, right? So you have not worked with any, let's say, project before, like a real world project before. Maybe you are searching for internships and other things, so that you can get the hands on experience on a real world project. But in open source community, you can join in right away without any any hassle, and you can directly contribute to a real world project. You can see like you can get inside that project, and you can see all the technologies they're using, the latest technologies, latest, let's say, libraries, what's hot, it's going on. And of course, open source projects are real world projects, right? They are on the go real world projects. So you can definitely join in without any hassle, and you can get that exposure out of those projects, right? So let's say what is why do we know, why do like we can of course get connection connected to new people, right? So I am a active contributor at PyMC, right? And the PyMC is a Python library, right? It is used for statistical things in the Python uh, culture, right? So what we can say is that like I have met a lot of people throughout my journey, and I'm an active contributor there. So of course they know me and I know them, and some of them are even software developers at big tech companies, and they are scattered across the globe. One is I know is working from Spain, and one is directly working in New York. And you can get connected to new people. You can and those, of course, connection is getting connected to new people is the best thing which can happen, right? Because you can get new maybe you can get some offers out of them, right? Or maybe you can collaborate on new projects with them, right? So maybe you can get to learn something from them new, right? So connecting to people is of course a big thing, right? So getting a feature implemented is as I discussed. So maybe you want to get a feature implemented in an open source project, right? So this is like, this is the main, like this is why a lot of people, this is why the major chunk of people join open source. Like maybe one thing also, like for example, you are using a library, right? So maybe a library which is getting depreciated, like so maybe the library which is not being used a lot by people now, right? And you don't want that library to go away, right? So you, because that library is supporting your project in a way none other library can do, right? So what you can do is you can directly join that community, that library which you're using in your project, and you can start contributing to it, so that it doesn't it doesn't die. So this is how like communities work together to keep things running, and keep their projects running fluently, right? So this is how open source is working. And this is how, like, this is why the like major chunk of people joining open source come from, right? So getting jobs is of course one thing. So you can say that, like, you have to make a resume, you have to solve these many DSA problems, right? You have to solve a lot of projects, you have to do a lot of projects. But I have seen recruiters who ask for the GitHub profiles of the people of the one they're recruiting, right? They want to see the GitHub profile. I'll show you my GitHub profile also. I think it's not that impressive though, but yeah, I'll definitely share it with you, right? But you can see that the recruiters ask for GitHub profiles, right? So you can say that at your GitHub profile, they can definitely see whatever contributions you're doing, whatever organizations you have contributed to. Maybe one of those organization is the key library or key part of their own organization, right, which you have contributed to. So in that way, that can make your application shine among rest of the candidates, right? So getting jobs is of course one of the mm, important things, and the GitHub profile does matter, right? So the how many contributors you give does matter. For example, people apply for GSOC, right? So in GSOC also, when you are proposing your proposing your idea, right, to the organization, they of course want to see your GitHub profile, and they want to see that how active you are. And this directly signifies that how reliable you are in the future if they give you this project, right? So this is how it all getting jobs thing works, right? So of course, the last thing is of course participating in events. So there are a lot of events like Hacktoberfest. The Hacktoberfest of 2022 just ended, right, on last month. So uh, that is a great event. We'll discuss about that also, right? So Hacktoberfest, GSOC, there are a lot of fellowship programs also. There are abundance of open source events which are happening. Even in, for example, if you go in a hackathon, right? For maybe you have to make a project or something, they definitely use some open source knowledge to showcase your project. So how otherwise how can you share your project code, or how can you explain your project code, and how can you share the code with them, right? It's through the open source contribution softwares only, right? So like GitHub, right? So yeah, this is how like participating in events also, it helps in open source. If you know the knowledge of open source, you can definitely participate into events. And in this presentation, I guarantee you, like I'll hold your finger and walk you through all the steps of how to do a hands-on merge PR, and you to just like contributing through your VS Code, contributing through GitHub UI. Will cover all those topics, all those great topics, right, in this presentation, right? So you should stay on to it, right? And in the meantime, you should also subscribe to AccioJob, right, for providing you such beautiful content, right? So this is how we can this is why we should contribute to open source, and this is why people tend to contribute to open source, right? So why do people open source their work? So now question arises, for example, if I have a great idea, right, maybe that solves a problem, right, in the community, right? But I'm also working on another idea, or maybe I'm busy with other things also in my life, right? And I don't want this idea to go away easily. What I can do, I can just simply open source this project. What does this mean? That community will support this project with me, so I don't have to. Or maybe your idea is really vast. For example, let's take an example. So you're having a lot of documents, a lot of docs which are really important. Let's say for a new technology which has come out, you have the documentation of that in English, right? But you want this documentation to be converted into other languages also. And for that, if you do that by your own, so you'll need to hire the people who know that those different languages, for example, Spanish, Arabic, French, German, right? So you'll need to hire those people in order to convert your document to translation of your document to that document. On the other hand, if you open source this project, if you open source this project of converting that, and let's say that document is a is it a really great technology, it is a document for really documentation for a really great project, right? So people want this thing to be done. So you can, and people across the globe I'm talking about, so you can take help from people across the globe to contribute to this project, right? And make the translations of this thing. For example, one person is sitting in Spain, right? So he or she can like collaborate and convert that English document and contribute a Spanish version of it. And similarly, a lot of things, like, or for other languages also. So this is how you can, this is why you would want to open source your project. And this is only one test case. There are multiple instances of test cases where, you want to open source your project, right? So of course, so the first reason is, of course, scalability. Your whole thing will be scalable, because a lot of people are putting efforts in it. And of course, it is tending to expand, because new people will be joining in your project, and they will be coding in their own ways, and they'll be implementing new features by their own. So at one point, issues, people will raise issues and they'll get resolved. So this will make your app more scalable and more, transformable for the future, right? So because of course a great community is backing it up. So let's take the next point. So closer to the community, right? So again, the point I explained for the translation example. So you'll become closer to the community by, sharing your open source project. Just bear with me, we'll have to cover this basic theory part, so that you clear your whys and whatnots to before, getting hands on to this thing, right? I'll also share, I'll contribute to a real world repository in this presentation. So stay tuned with me, right? So okay. So also, if you want to make your project free and accessible, for example, this is a project which solves a problem, but people may or may not, you cannot put a price on that thing, right? So you can make your project free and accessible. And by accessible, maybe this project supports a lot of other project, can support a lot of other projects. So this can, of course, because the community is being like run, so this can solve a free and accessible. And one example of free and accessible open source piece of software, you can say, is Linux, right? You all have, you all- may you like not you all, but many of you have used Linux before, right? So what options are we having? We are having Windows, we are having Mac OS. So to, like, also the monopoly and the thing, we should tackle this, right? So that's why, like, we have Linux, right? Open source software which you can contribute, which you can, in which you can get your features implemented, in which you can, directly change the operating system which you are using. So Linux is a great example, right? So I'll tell you a story that, one day I was a fresher, right, in my college. Right now I'm a CSC undergrad. I'm a final year student, right? So okay. So one day, I was a fresher, so my uncle took me to his office, right? So I'll not name the company, right? So there I saw the server room, and people were working on the, the whatever code were compiling. So uh, they were working. And this also, this story will also tell you some disadvantage of open source, right? So they were working on the software. So some people, some tech guys were working on Linux, and some Windows machines were running their code, maybe running their softwares behind, right? So what happened next? So I simply asked my uncle that, why are they not running Linux on all the systems when it's cheaper, right? When it's free, right? So why do they bother to buy Windows? So one thing, open source project, you should know that, open source project is not backed by a single company or a guarantee, right? For example, he said that they are running a really important code, they're compiling a really important code in the Windows machine. And if something goes wrong, Windows is answerable to us, right? Windows is answerable of what went wrong in that operating system. But in case of Linux, you can of course talk to the community, but since the collaboration is in parts from everybody, you cannot blame anyone, right, in that organization. And you cannot of course, that software is free, so of course you cannot get maybe a damage or something. You cannot get it done. There's no guarantee, right? Of course, they are safer because they are implemented through a community. Their whole code is available, so people can see the flaws and can fix them. And maybe it is more safer than Windows also. But at the same time, if something goes wrong, Windows people are answerable, but in case of Linux, it is not answerable. So this is, you can say, one of the disadvantage of what you can not expect from open source community, right? Also, you can of course, why do people open source their work? Maintenance. So maintenance is a really important factor. For example, you started this project, right? And maybe you have your focus is shifted on another project, and you want this the older project to be maintained. So you can open source this project, and people will raise issues, and automatically work on that and maintain that project for you, of course. And when you say that you have open sourced that project, of course you are the admin, you're not the administrator of that project, but you're a you can say you are a main contributor to that project, right? So what you can say that you can of course give that project, keep that project running by maintaining it, by giving it to the community, and community will work itself out. And you may ask that why would someone maintain my project? The answer is maybe their project is dependent on your project. So if your project is not maintained, their project might fail. So in order to keep their project running, they'll maintain your project also. So this is how open source communities work. Of course, cheaper, because you don't have to hire employees to make that project work. You don't have to set up organizations to make that project work. It will be run by community, and of course it will be cheaper than what you can expect from the other thing. And the last point is, of course, the most important point is security. So why security is the most, you may ask that the code is available online, so how is it secure? My counter to that question is that since the code is available online, right? So since the code is available online, the people who want to fix, maybe though the people whose project is dependent upon your project, right, would not would fix your security flaws in order to maintain their own projects to security, right? So they'll the security, like the code is visible to both, like I can say hackers or crackers, right? So it is visible to both. And people, since the code is visible, people tend to stick out the flaws upfront, and they fix the security issues as soon as they face them, right? So since the code is visible to everyone regardless of their background, and maybe in an organization, for example, we have departments. So Amazon might be having a department for their checkout team, and Amazon might be having a department for the front end team. So checkout team will not be able to see the code from the front end team, but not in the case of open source projects. So anyone with their expertise can of course, since the code is visible, they can definitely take a look at the code, and right away they can fix that code, and this makes the open source projects really secure, right? So before moving further, I'll just have to confirm that if everything is running nice, right? So if you can confirm in the chat also that the presentation is going fine, maybe someone. I also check from YouTube also. Restaurant owner. Yeah, I think everything is working fine in YouTube. So let's move on with the presentation, right? Yeah. Okay. So now let's discuss GitHub. So before contributing to an open source project, you should always you should know what GitHub is, because we'll be contributing on GitHub also. We are also having GitLab and other things, but GitHub is the main thing, which is not the main thing, but you can say that people tend to contribute here a lot, right? So let's go to the GitHub website, right, and we'll see the whole dashboard, right? So this is GitHub, right? So this is what GitHub looks like, right? It may be overwhelming for you at once, but like you'll get used to it once we go through it, right? So we'll discuss all these terms, what is pull request issues, है ना? And the repositories which I've been, this is all my recent activities, right? And this is all the recent activities of people I follow or they follow me. For example, this guy forked my repository and fixed a bug on that repository. So this is how you can see all the activity. This is the feed of that, you can say GitHub. For example, Facebook is having feed, GitHub is also as having a feed, right? You can go here and you can go to your profile, right? So this is my GitHub profile, right? So you can see that I have pinned some repositories which recruiters might want to see, right? These are all my projects which recruiters might want to see, right? So technologies are also written on these projects. So this is my heat map. So how often do I contribute is shown here, right? and whatever is my recent activity will be shown here. So this is GitHub. So as of now, I'm not expecting you to know what is repositories, what is projects, what are issues, market. I'm just wanting you to get familiarized with what GitHub is in whole, right? So this you can in a layman's language, if I say that, as of now you can say that GitHub is a Facebook for sharing your code, right? So you can just look at this as a feed and my profile page. And similarly, like Instagram, we can follow people, we can of course unfollow people, all those kind of stuff is present here. So this is GitHub, right? So yeah, so let's go drill a little bit deeper into GitHub, right? So and by like first like we should always know, before learning the whole thing, we should always know the unit cell of that thing, right? So what is the unit cell of that, what of GitHub? So that is repository. So what is repository? A repository is it contains all your project files, and each file's revision history. You can discuss and manage your project's work within the repository. This is the official definition of repository. So now let's learn what is repository in like in a more natural way, right? So you can think of a repository as a folder, right? Like we have folders in our file system in Windows and in Mac also. So you can think of a repository as a folder only, but more than a folder. Now what is more than a folder? What do I mean by more than a folder? For that, let's go to a repository, let's go inside a repository, right? So let's go to just give me a second, I'll take you to that repository. Yeah. So yeah, let's say this is a repository, right? So this is an actual GitHub repository where people where there are contributors, right? Where there is some code of conduct. So this is the actual repository, right? So you can of course see that there are a lot of folders, there are a lot of files. Like I'm not assuming that I'm assuming that you know nothing about this. You've visited this kind of page first time of your life, and I'll just walk you through the steps, right, of how to take a look at these things, right? So this is of course a GitHub page, right? So this is a GitHub page, this is a repository, right? And as I said that Git repository is a folder, but more than the folder. So what do I mean by more than a folder? So a repository also consists of the data, like who are the contributors who have contributed in this repository, what are the branches of this repository. So there may be a lot of branches in the repository. This repository is actually having only one branch. Let's go to my repository. So this is having like 1 to 2 branches, right? So similarly, like a repository can have multiple branches. What are the branches of that repository? Like we'll discuss what are branches in further slides. So what are the issues in that repositories, what are the pull requests, what are the pull requests in that repository. So this is what a repository looks like. Let's take you to some some repository which is actually having some issues. Let's take you to free code camp repository, free code camp, right? So yeah, so this is the repository for free code camp. You may have seen this free code camp website before. So they provide free courses and free documentations for new technologies, right? And of course very interactive exercises also on their website, right? So they're having this website, right? Free code camp, right? Just give me a second, I'll show you what free code camp actually looks like. And this is their repository. So right, so this is free code camp. When I say this is an open source project, I mean it, and I mean it by saying that their code is publicly visible to us. So where is free code camp's code visible to us? So this is the repository. We can say there's a folder called client here, right? And this is the code for their official website, free code camp's official website, right? So this is the code for the free code camp's official website. If I let's not go a little bit deeper, because that's now it's converting to a technical thing. So let's keep it simple, right? So this is the code basically for whole free code camp website, right? And whatever operations they are running, this file, this all data is also present in a file which is present in this repository. The file name is readme.md. You can say that readme.md is present here. So this is a markdown file. So the same file is present here also, right? So this is a repository. So you can see in a folder you just have only files. Your files may have a size, your folder may have some attributes like date created, date updated, but in a repository we have much more than that. like we this is something like this is a commit message, right? This is a commit message. So commit message are also there. What is commit, we'll discuss in further slides, right? So yeah, so this is about what a repository is. So let's take a look at issues tab. So of course we have learned about the code tab. Here all the code is present. You can see all the branches here. They are having 6 branches, right? So you can say, you can see all the thing, like the code thing, and you can see how many commits they have done till now. Like 31 8 35 commits have been done in this repository alone. So you can say how big of a project this is, right? So yeah, so this is what the code part is. Let's go to issues, right? Let's do it one by one, right? So let's go to issues. So so what do we mean by issues? Issues are, English definition is that something which is not right, right? So this is also, these are also the issues which are raised by this repository, which they may or may have been facing currently, right? So let's take a look at issue. Let's say this issue is opened 11 hours ago only. This is a pretty latest issue. So uh, they have provided, every repository works on a different, in a different format, I can say. So they provide their I think this is describe your solution you'd like. They provide this format so that, issue describer, of course, people are coming from all around the world to contribute here, right? So to understand in a more formal way, they just simply provide you a format which you have to follow in order to raise your issue. So this guy has commented, need to create an endpoint to return dataset in the below format. So this is just some technical thing which is happening here, right? So if we, explore this, we can, of course, get deeper into it, right? So for example, Sudoku solver example program accepts invalid Sudoku puzzles, right? So maybe there's a question in this, like let's say, let go to this affected page, right? So affected page is this, right? So this is a this is, I think, the test case generator for them, right? So you do have to, widen your knowledge base to, understand what is going on in an issue, right? In order to, if you want to fix that issue, right? So of course you also need to, know that language, of course, right? So yeah, so let's take a look. So uh, he have raised some issue, right? So b1 has raised some issue, b1b has raised some issue, and he has described the screenshots, and he's saying that this is not this, the code, the code is accepting me. This is what I am assuming, like what the issue is. So he's saying that this is the Sudoku puzzle which he's entering as an input, maybe, right? And the code is accepting this as a valid Sudoku puzzle, but you can see that in a Sudoku puzzle, this is not a valid thing, right? So in one box also 9 is coming 2 times, in a column also, in a row also it's coming 2 times. So this is not a valid puzzle. So he's saying that there might be some error in the implementation part of that code which validates the Sudoku board, right? And now someone is replying that thanks for, he added tags. We'll also discuss issue tags, right, in further slides, right? So thanks for, he's of course thanking, and for anyone who wants to fix, he's providing some references and, some things which, basically they're communicating, and it is, you can see it as a communication also, right? So, and now this is the timeline which is happening, right? So he also added some tags, help wanted and warning tries, right? So, and someone, we don't know who, right? And someone raised the issue, raised a pr, raised a pull request, and it is open now. Let's take a look at the pull request. Someone fixed this issue already, right? So he raised pr 6 days ago, and he let's take a look at, you can, in a pr, this is a pr, this is a pull request, how pull request look like. So so we discussed issues. What is the issue? Someone can raise the issue. Someone, I am summarizing issues now, right? So someone can raise the issue, someone can discuss on issue, someone can discuss possible solutions to that issue, someone can add tags to the issue. So for example, if the issue is unresolvable, or maybe their website can go down due to that issue, they can add issue tags on that issue, and similarly, right? So he has fixed this issue, right? And let's see, he has done some commit, right? And let's see his commit. So he have changed these lines in the code of the official, validation code, validation part of that Sudoku. So you can see that how I, just from the website only, I drilled down deeper into that organization, and this is the beauty of open source. You can drill down the issues, you can drill down to each one bit and the change of it, right? In that repository. So this is how it all works together, right? So now you must be having some idea about the code, the issues, and the pull request of the stuff, right? The rest of the stuff, actions and projects, you don't need to worry about these as of now. You just have to worry about these two three tabs which are present in the first place, right? So of course we are having filters for the issues are closed, the pull request actually. So these are all the pull requests. Now what is a pull request? I'm sorry, we didn't discuss what is a pull request. So pull request is something that someone fixed a code, maybe fixed a bug, maybe implemented a feature, and he or she is wanting to uh, take like he's asking the owner of that project to pull the code which he has done in his repository, right? So by his repository, what do I mean? We'll discuss that again when we will be contributing to a repository, right? So this is how a basic repository whole repository looks like, right? So you can see the readme.md file is present in every repository, right? You can see that you can see, of course, we should discuss these also. So watch means that anything which is happening, watch is generally done by the owners of the project. So any code which is being added, any comment which is being done, you can add a watch there, and it will come into your notifications of that, whatever changes which are having in that which we are having on that repository. Fork means, what do I mean by fork? Fork means that if I click this fork, this repository, this whole repository will be created as a copy in my own, under my own name, right? So that I can implement my changes and ask for a pull request from them, right? I'll discuss the fork in more detail a little bit when we will be actually contributing to a project. So what is star? Star basically means that uh, you can star it, star the repository. And by star I mean that you can save that repository as an important repository. For example, I have started some repositories. Star basically means that you have in Instagram we have a save button, right? So we can, so that we can save a post. And similarly in GitHub we can star a repository, right? So this is how, like, I've started 6 repositories. So these are all the repositories which have helped me throughout, right? So this is the main gist of what is a repository. Now any doubts regarding what is a repository, and you know any doubt regarding what is a repository? Yeah, yeah, Shelly, we are of course learning how to use GitHub. We will, I'll be contributing to a repository. I'll be contributing to a real world project in this presentation only. But of course before that we need to know some important terms before going into that, right? So any doubt regarding a repository, right? We can also get doubts from YouTube also, right? So any doubt regarding repository? Anyone? So repository is clear to everyone? Yeah. So I guess there are no doubts in repository. So let's move on. Yeah. So of course repository is a pretty simple thing to understand. So a folder which is having some attributes with itself, right, is a repository. And when I say that I'll be contributing to a project, actually I'll be contributing to a repository, right? So okay. So let's go ahead with the presentation now, right? Okay. Actually we are having an activity now, right? Creating a repo using GitHub UI and uploading files to the repo, right? So let's create a repository using this GitHub UI only. I'll not be using in this like in this activity. We'll cover in the next activity of how to make a repository through, or upload files to a repository through my system. But right now for simplicity, let's first understand how to create a new repository. So you go to your profile page on GitHub, right? Let's say I go to my profile page on GitHub, right? And even if you go to github.com only, you can see there is a new button here. So new repository, you can create a new repository from here, right? So let's click this button, right? Also, if I want, if this button is not visible in some people's PCs, right? So we can go to repositories, and from here we can also get a new repository, right? So let's click new repository, right? So all right, so let's name this repository, and this name has to be unique, right? So what do I mean by unique? From where is this being compared? I cannot name this repository 404 dash templates. I cannot name this repository as Java with J capital. I cannot name this repository free code camp, because these are all the repositories which are already present under my name. So slash like slash rohanfish slash event board web. So this is a repository which is present under my name. So I have to make this name unique, right? So let's say that the repository's name is open source session, right? So this name is available, and we can provide this description. I'll not be providing description right now. I'll keep this repository public. If you want to even during presentation, if you want to contribute to this repository, you're welcome, right? So add a readme file. We can or we cannot add, we if we can or we cannot add it doesn't matter right now, right? Because I'm just explaining what is repository. So we can choose a license. We don't have to do this. So actually we don't have to choose a license just now. So because it, you can ignore these all these settings, and you can just simply create this repository now, right? So before let's name it again, open source session, right? So this was the name, right? So let's create this repository. All right, so now the repository has been created, right? So so this is something which is visible to you, right? This is something visible to you when you create a new repository, and this is a really important thing. You should keep in mind. You should keep this in mind. We'll be using this code only to pushing to upload files to this repository, right? So let's upload an existing file. So I can drag any file from my system here, and it will be saved in that repository, right? Any code file, anything, any file which I want, it will be saved in this repository. Let's create a new file. So let's say I name this file as script.js, right? So if I want to create a folder in this case, so what I can say is, I can say like JavaScript. I can add a backtick, and it will act as a folder. So I'll add a script.js here, right? So now I'll commit this file, right? So what does commit mean? Commit means that I have added this file. I have committed to add this file to this repository, right? So this is the main branch, and I have added script.js inside JavaScript folder in the open source sessions repository of my own, right? So this is how I've created a repository and created a folder inside a repository and added script.js JavaScript file in that repository, right? So this is how we can create a repository in this case, right? So okay, so any doubts till now? If there are any doubts, please feel free to ask. So because we'll be moving to technical stuff now. Yeah, any doubts as of now? Okay, I guess there are no doubts. So let's move on. Right. So we've discussed how to create a repository using the GitHub UI only. Right. We can of course upload our files and add a file here and upload our files from here. But let's take a look at some other ways of creating and uploading a repository. For example, you're having a large code base, and you want to make this code base you want to add a version control system. You want to upload this code for working in a team, right? So you want to upload this code for sharing it with your colleagues, right? So we use in that case git bash to upload that repository, right? So git bash is a simpler way to use the like command line to upload all the code without manually selecting each file and uploading that file to the repository, right? So just a second. Yeah, so there are no doubts, right? Okay, so yeah, so what is git bash now? Let's go to the git bash website, right? Yeah, this is a git bash. So what is git bash? Git bash basically gives you a command line interface to interact with git, and of course do your other things. It's just a command line interface which is linked with git. So this is how git bash looks like, right? So I know it looks like it is not intuitive at first, but of course this is how git bash looks like. You need to enter commands in this git bash, right? So we'll be using this git bash, right, to upload a repository, right? So let's do that quickly, right? So also, before going forward in this presentation, I would like to share this git cheat sheet with you, right? Yeah. So education.github.com. So this is the cheat sheet which demonstrates all the commands, and I'll be explaining how to read this cheat sheet, right? Also, so that even after this presentation ends, you know how to you don't have to just you don't have to write anything down during this presentation. This is the GitHub cheat sheet which I'll be also be using to contribute, so that these are the kind of notes you can have after this presentation. So I'll be explaining you how to read this cheat sheet, right? So yeah, so this is how you can Yash, how to upload complete project. This is how this is what now we are going to discuss, right? So just just stay focused, right? So what I'll do is, what you want to do, you want to first install git bash in your systems, right? So you want to install git bash in your system. You can install user interface also, but we want only command line. So after installing git bash to your system, you are actually ready to go. You're actually ready to upload that file to your system, right? So let's do that, right? So let's create a file in my this directory. So let me create a new folder, open source session, right? So this folder is empty currently, right? And let me add some files to this folder, right? So maybe let's open this with code, VS Code, and we'll manage this file there only. So I've opened this file here, so I'll add a new file here, and I'll say that this is index. Let's say this is your project, right? Yes, whatever project you are saying, that let's say this is your project. So this is some code present in this project, right? And just give me a second. Yeah. And maybe it is having some folders like JavaScript is having a file inside, let's script.js, right? So it is having that file. Maybe again, maybe this is a React project. You can do create React app. I'm not doing that because that will waste a lot of time. So CSS, we can add another file called styles.css, right? So there, maybe they're having a lot of, your project is having a lot of file in it, and you don't want to keep uploading those files, right? So what you want to do is, you want to open git bash, right? Open git bash here, right? In your Windows, right click. When you do right click, you can see an option called open git bash here, right? So this will open this, right? It will open git bash here. So what I'll do is, I'll open git bash in my VS Code terminal only. Now what I've done is that I've integrated git bash with my VS Code, right? So how can you do that? There's a simple tutorial given by GFG only. Integrate, you can type integrate git bash, integrate git bash with VS Code, right? So you can see that this is a simple tutorial. You can follow these steps, and you may be having Windows CMD here right now, but it's nice to have git bash, because git bash also gives you a Unix type of environment to compile and run your codes, which is generally accepted among the software development environment, right? So yeah, so these are like three steps in three, like this is some code you have to copy paste into a settings file of your terminal of your VS Code, right? So if you just follow these three steps, you'll be able to integrate git bash to your system. And but for now, what you can do is, you can just simply right click this folder, and you can open git bash here, right? So right, so yeah, so let's move on, right? So okay, I'm doing this because it gives I hope this is visible to you all, right? So let's do one thing. So first and the foremost thing you need to do is, right, so currently your project is not linked with GitHub. What you want to do is, you want to link this project with GitHub. Now hear me closely, right? You have to focus on this part. So your project is now not currently linked with GitHub. You want to link this project with GitHub, right? What I'll type, the first command I'll type is, I'll type git init, right? So it has initialized, what has he said, that it has said that initialize empty git repository in E, right? Okay, let's see what has it done. So nothing, no file has been changed. There's some UUU written here now. Before it was not written, but something must have changed, right? That's why it is able to say that UUU, and something must have changed. So how what does this command do? Let's go to this folder, right? You can see here there's a .git folder present here now, which is a hidden folder actually. And when you open, you don't have to touch this folder. Keep in mind, this is a .git folder which Git uses to track your changes, whatever changes or whatever you want to do with this repository. So this is a folder which basically links your project to GitHub. Right now we have not completely linked this project to GitHub, but this actually does this, right? So yeah, so what I want to do is it is written you here, right? When we did git init, the GitHub not git basically git started tracking our project, right? What do I mean by tracking our project? So if I do any changes in that project, it will be written, it will be said that untracked, right? So this it's written untracked here. So I can go to source control and you can see that there's some changes, right? So what have, since I've initialized this repository just now, every file is coming under changes, right? So every file is untracked right now. So you can see that there's some code which is added in this file, which was not present earlier but now it is present. So these are all the untracked changes, right? So yeah, so now the tracking of your project has begun. So you have done some changes, right? So we type git in it. Now what we'll do, we'll type git add dot, right? You can see this cheat sheet also. You can see that firstly it has typed we can type git in it and it initializes this GitHub repository, right? And we can type what does this git add command does. This add command, you know, takes your changes to the staging area, right? You can see here. So let's say I type index.html. I just add index.html. So it will, you know, go to the staging area. Index.html is not in changes now, it is under staging area. It is on the staging area. So what is staging area, right? So staging area is basically something before you want to commit anything, staging area is present. So what is staging area? Staging area, anything you commit from now, like uh, in order to, you know, add your project to GitHub, upload a project to GitHub, you want to first make changes, of course, so that it can be reflected in the changes tab, and then you have to stage those changes, and only those changes which are staged will be committed to the project, right? So for the sake of simplicity right now, I'll just do git add dot. So what dot does, dot operator actually adds all the files present in your repository. This is the command which Yash was I think Yash was asking, right? So yeah, so yeah, how can we get the access of this main document? What main document? Can you Shaurya, can you explain what your question is? I'll be moving forward, right? So we'll simply do git add dot, and you can see now from changes, both of these files will also come in the stage changes. I'll type enter. Now you can see all of these files are in the stage changes. Now these files are staged now. If I do any commit now, you know, you have to, you know, get familiar to these terms commit. Even though if you're not familiar to what do these terms mean, you have to get familiar, because in GitHub we use these terminologies only. And now these terminologies are a little bit confusing, but yeah. So basically, right now the changes are staged. If I do any commit, that commit will push all the stage changes to my repository. So what I'll do, I'll do git commit -m. So with commit you have to give a commit message. So whatever you what have you added to the GitHub repository, right? So I'll add that, let's say it's the first commit. You have to give double quotes, and then inside the you have to add the commit message, right? I'll do enter, and now the changes are gone. Now the changes are gone, right? So you can see that changes are now gone and they're not now visible. So okay, all right. So what if I change a file now? Let's say I change this document to, let's say, AccioJob here, right? You can see that one thing is modified. So M is modified. So one file which is committed already is modified, right? So what I can say here is that I can again add these three commands. Now, if you're not attentive earlier, you can see it now that I can, you know, do one thing. I can, you know, get add dot, right? Now since I've done git add git add dot, I don't have to do git init now, because I've initialized this repository earlier, right? You don't have to initialize your repository again and again, right? I've done git init, I don't have to do git init again. So I'll just simply do git add dot, and then I'll just commit again. So let's say we name this as second commit. Let's say, you know, second commit. So I'll commit this file also, right? So this is now changed. Now the question is, where is like my, of course you need to of course log in into GitHub also through your git bash also. So this knows that where this file is going. So if I see my GitHub profile, let's see my GitHub profile. Let's see my GitHub profile. So is there any repositories name open source sessions here? Like this is the repository which I created, but this is not that repository, because this is not the repository. Let's for the sake of simplicity, let's just delete the earlier the repository which we done. This has nothing to do with what we are doing now. So right, I'll just simply copy paste this and I'll delete this repository just to prevent any other errors. So just give me a second. I'll delete this repository. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So now what I've done is I've deleted this repository. So this is basically two-factor authentication. So now the repository is visible, and you can see we have staged this. So let's come back to this repository now, the open source sessions one, which we are trying to upload files to GitHub, right, from our command line. So right now we have committed all the changes. There are no changes present in the file now, and but we cannot see where this repository is present, right? We cannot see where this repository is present. For for linking this, for uploading this to the visible, like the GitHub page, you what you want to do is you have to create a new repository. We'll name it again like open source sessions this time, because I'll do camel casing, right? Because in the project file also I'm doing this, right? So I'll not add anything. I'll just create a repository, right? Now look carefully. I have two options. I can either copy this command and paste this one, or I can copy this set of commands, right? We've already done git init. We don't have to do that git init. We have already committed our changes. We don't have to commit our changes. So we already have like a branch main in that repository. So we don't have to do this also. What I'll do is I'll just copy this command, right? Copy these set of commands, because we just want to link our committed changes to the repository. I'll copy this set of command and simply paste it here, right? So now you can say that these files will be present on this repository location. So if I reload this page, right, you can see all the code is present here, and the commit messages are also present here. I typed first commit here, and the second commit I did it in next.html. So every code is present here now, right? So this is how we can contribute and get the branches, get the project set up in GitHub. Maybe you are having a lot of files in your system and you want to work with those files, so you can do that, right? So are there any doubts regarding this? Yeah. How can we get the access of this main document cheat sheet? Okay, for cheat sheet you just have to type GitHub cheat sheet. It is actually available online only, GitHub cheat sheet, right? So you can just go to the first page. I'll also if I can paste this link, I think. Yeah, I think I cannot paste this link, but yeah, you can go Google GitHub cheat sheet, and the cheat sheet will be available here only, right? So of course you have to see that these lines are I think not given in the correct order. The order which I use follow is I first do git init, and I do git add dot of course to add all the files. I then do a commit, and then I copy paste the code from there to upload all the files to my GitHub account, right? So is everything clear till now? Are we able to upload files to a Git without using GitHub UI? We're just using Git Bash. Come on, guys. Anything? Any doubt? Anything I'm missing? Yeah, where to find? Very good question, Ashish Nagar. That where to find projection? We'll be discussing this also. We'll be definitely discussing, because I'll be also contributing to a project. So I'll be definitely searching for a project which I can contribute. Right. I'll also be telling you where to contribute. Right. Where to contribute and how to find your basically technical domain to contribute. So any doubt of in the things we've discussed so far, because we've covered some technicalities, right? We've covered the some commands. Any definition you want to know? Nothing. All right, I guess we'll move forward now. Just give me a water break. I'll just drink water till then you can ask your questions. Okay. So I guess there are no doubts as of now, right? Right. Does this session be related? Definitely. I'm actually wearing a Hacktoberfest t-shirt, so we'll also cover Hacktoberfest in this session also, right? So first we of course we'll need to discuss how to do a PR. In Hacktoberfest we need to do 4 PRs at least, right? So to get avail this t-shirt, so you can what you can do is you can we'll discuss this Hacktoberfest thing also, of how to commit this PR and in which repositories you can commit to Hacktoberfest, right? So yeah, all right. So let's move on. Let's move on with this presentation, right? So we have cleared your doubts, I guess, right? So let's discuss some important points which you need to know before committing to a real world project, right? So okay. So first and the most important point is the ethics and inclusiveness, right? So we live in India, and we tend to use some words which are not really welcome in foreign countries, and of course in India also, since the open source projects are based across the globe, you have to be inclusive regarding your communication, right? So what do I mean by inclusive? You don't have to you greet everyone by saying hey guys and that type of stuff, because when you say hey guys, that actually says a lot that maybe you are assuming someone's gender, right? So you don't have to say hey guys, you can simply greet by saying hey everyone and all that stuff. And of course the communication part is important to discuss while we are discussing open source contribution, because of course you'll be working with the community, so you should know how to act in a community, right? Also what I've observed, I've made some mistakes myself also, right? So what you can see that, like, in India we greet our elders by saying sir and ma'am, and that's a part of a respect. But we don't on these platforms, on this GitHub also, and nowadays in companies also, we don't say sir, we don't use terminology for sir and ma'am, because of reasons that you like, because everyone is said that everyone is equal on these platforms, and you don't have to greet everyone by saying sir and ma'am, of course. And sir and ma'am also say that you're assuming someone's gender, so that's not what you should do. And you should of course be ethical to people. You should of course listen to them first, and then give your inputs, because there can be potential misunderstandings between people. Maybe you want to implement a feature and someone is saying that this feature cannot be implemented because of xyz reason. You should get an understanding, and if you have a counter, you should give a counter. But you have to be ethical, and you have to be respectful to everyone in open source community, because this can actually also ruin a lot of experience of for others also, right? For you it will be a devastating experience if you get people of course get carried away by the, like, maybe you have a lot of skills and you're not like allowed to give something to a project, so you may feel that you're set back because of someone. But of course you should be in your proper ethics, and you should be in your proper behavior on the online communities. This is the points no one discuss when discussing open source contribution, but you have to keep all these things in mind, right? So let's move forward. So technology is widely used now. Open source contribution is consists of a lot of technology, like all of the technology I should say, because it every you can see you can find every technology based project in this. So what I have found most is that web based projects are widely available, and you can definitely contribute to those projects more welcomingly. So the web projects, I would say, that are more present on those platforms, or maybe I have found more web projects with respect to other projects, right? And of course there are projects for documentations. You can of course go to GitHub page, and you can, let's say, you can search React, right? I'll say React in all GitHub, and we can see that React, and we can go to C topic. I'll zoom in a little bit, so we'll go to React here. Right. So we can see that these are all the repositories which use this React technology, and here you can find that repository which you want to contribute to, right? So yeah, yeah, I can definitely share the PPT. Actually, I'm not able to access the comment board, but definitely I can share the PPT here, right? So yeah. So now React is present here, right? So you can also, find other technologies. Let's say I want to contribute a C++ code in, like, maybe I'm a C++ developer, so see, I want to go to C topic, and then I can simply go to C++ page, and I can, these are all the projects like OBS Studio, which we are definitely we use a lot for, recording videos and do podcasts. This is also open source project which we are free to use, right? And of course this is implemented in C and C++, right? So this is how you can find a project based on a particular technology, right? One guy asked, Shaurya asked that, Hacktoberfest. So let's type Hacktoberfest here, all GitHub. What I'll do is, you can see the Hacktoberfest topic is present here. I'll go to this topic. And it will display all the repositories which come under the Hacktoberfest tag. So any if you are able to find any repository in which you can contribute, and these repositories definitely have the Hacktoberfest tag in them. So if you are able to if you are able to make your 4 PRs on any of these repositories, there's a lot of repositories, right? So if you are able to merge in any of these repositories, you'll be able to, contribute to Hacktoberfest easily. So this is what Hacktoberfest is, right? So this is how we can contribute to Hacktoberfest. You can of course get recently updated repositories, so that you can, get an idea of what repositories are active. Maybe some repositories are not active now, so you don't have to waste your time and, keep on giving them PR, so that your time, actually your time goes away, and you don't have any PR merge. So what you can do is, you can definitely sort it by recently updated, and you can see that there are repositories which are constantly updated 2 minutes ago. Like, by updating they mean that they have merged, committed, or commented 2 minutes ago. Like, they have done these things like recently, right? So this is how we can find the repositories, right, for which we want to contribute. So yeah, so we have covered technologies widely used. Of course, web technology is one of the things, and of course, if you know other technologies, you can definitely find those by typing your technology name. Maybe I want to find Angular, or maybe, Angular. Yeah, no, I'm searching Angular under GitHub, but I want to search Angular for all GitHub. So let's see this topic. So I can see now that there are a lot of repositories which use this Angular technologies to make their websites or projects, right? So, and this is valid for all the technologies, so you can definitely take a look by this, right? So, since, like, people don't check these things out, like, because GitHub, they are afraid from GitHub video, although it's really intuitive once you get used to it. But yeah, so this is it. So yeah, so let's discuss about branching of a repository and feature branch. So let's discuss what are the branches. I know this is a lot of theory, but of course we are having a lot of activities ahead of us, so we'll definitely be learning a lot, right? So what is branch? So I'll have to explain it through some diagrams, right? So just give me a second. Yeah. So what is a branch? So any repository. Let's go to my repository which I created for this presentation. I'll go to repositories. I'll go to open source session. So this is the repository which I've created, and there is a main branch present here, right? So main branch is a branch. You can visualize it as a branch only, right? And if I create a new branch from main branch, I'll create a copy of that code within this repository only. Within this repository only, a new copy of this code will be created, right? So let's create a new branch. Let's name this branch, and let's do that from this UI. So you can of course check out the branch command from cheat sheet here, right? It is, yeah. So you can create your branch, create branch from your cheat sheet, but I'll be using this VS code to create and switch branches, right? So let's create a branch. So what is the command? So get branch, I want to add the branch name. So let's create a branch. So get branch. So let's name the branch as branch 1, right? Let's do _1, right? So it has created a branch, right? Nothing happened. So nothing happened. The changes are not visible here, so you may be wondering what has happened. So let me reload this page, right? Yeah. And of course I want to git checkout. Just give me a second. Or we can, definitely just create a branch from here. Let's say we make a branch one. Let's make a branch from here, right? So I've created branch one from main. So I have to click this, right? Okay. So we can see that nothing as of now has changed here, but you can see that something called, branch one is present here, right? Just a second. Okay. Now if I reload this page, maybe just give me a second. So yeah, branch underscore one is now present here because I did not publish this branch earlier. So this branch one is now present here. So what is this branch one? What do I mean? Let's, don't, take a look at this branch one. We'll be looking at main and branch underscore one only, right? So main branch is one branch and branch one is another branch, right? Both of them are having the same code present in it, right? So both of them are having the same code present in them, right? So what do I mean by branch? So let's say I want to make some changes, right? Let's say I want to make some changes. Let's say there's a website which is running from this GitHub repository, right? By GitHub repository, I mean this, like, let's say this is the GitHub repository, this is the website, this is the web page, right? And there's some data here present, and this is being run from this from the main branch of this repository. Let me draw the main branch. Just give me a second. Just to be a little bit more neat and clean, I'll be using this, right? So let's say this is the GitHub repository, right? And let's say this is the main branch of that repository, right? So this website is being run from the code from main branch, right? Now if I change something on the main branch on the go, this website may get shut down, right? Temporarily, but it may get shut down, right? And of course I cannot do testing live on this branch only, right? I cannot do those things, right? So what I can do is I can create a branch out of this main branch which will be the same code present, which is running this website, and I can do my changes, testing, and all the things which I want to do. I can do these things in this branch, and further down the line, whenever I am satisfied those changes, whenever I get satisfied with those changes, I can, let's say there are some changes happening, right? At this point I do changes, I do my testing, and then I can merge this branch to the main branch. And this is how, we can maintain a seamless experience from for the user, right? Recently LeetCode also changed their UI, so, and the website didn't go down. So this is how, like, branching can work, right? So we took out a feature branch, we implemented a feature, and we merged that feature branch into the main branch, right? This is the main branch, right? So this is branching, and a repository can have a lot of branches in it, but the main branch is the branch from whose the code will be visible, and from whose, like, from which websites and everything will be run. So main branch is a taken word, so you cannot name your branch main because that is a taken word. You have to name your branch accordingly, according to a feature maybe you are implemented, right? In this case we have implemented the name branch underscore one. So are we having any doubts? Which is the best for your site, React or Flutter? I am using. So I use React. I have not worked with Flutter before. I use React, right? So yeah. So this is branching, right? Right. So this is branching. So okay. So what? Let's see this practically. Why shan't we? Right. So let's do it. So what I'll do is I'll create. I'm currently on branch one. As you can see, I'm currently on branch one. Right. So what I'll do is I'll simply create a new file. The command is touch. Let's say file.txt. I'll name this file according to the branch. So branch one dot txt, right? I've created this file, right? Okay, definitely. That's great. I've created this file. Now what? Now let's switch to the main branch. So git, the command for that is git checkout main, right? So I've switched to the main branch, and just give me a second. Yeah, uh, yeah. Just give me a second. Yeah. So we're present on branch one, right? This code should be present on branch one. So what we can do is we can commit these changes, right? So I'll commit from here exactly. So branch, let's say branch one commit, right? So I'll add an underscore here. So I'll commit this. I'll sync those changes. So what syncing does is actually pushes those changes to your repository. So now branch one is having this code, right? So let's take a look at this. Okay. So branch one is having this branch one.txt file here. Let's switch to main branch. Let's see what is present there. So branch one.txt file is not present in this branch, right? So let's do git checkout main. We can see this file is now vanished from here. Now if I if I switch to branch one, now this file will appear. If I do a checkout to main, this file will be get deleted, right? So you can see that I'm actually having the same code, and I can do some changes in the branch one and branch two, and in your local system only GitHub, that .git folder is able to change your code inside, right? So this is what git branching does, right? So this is how we can work with branches. And I can, of course, what I can do it, for example, if I want to take the code from branch 1 to main branch, right? So what I can type, there's a command, it is given in GitHub cheat sheet also, right? I can do a git pull origin, right? So there has to be a command here called pull. Maybe you can search it, right? Wait a minute. Yeah, git pull is here. So fetch and merge any commits from tracking from a remote branch. So what I'll do, I'm currently sitting on the main branch. As you can see, it's written main here, right? What I'll do, and what is on the branch underscore one. So let's check out. So branch one.txt file is present on the branch underscore one branch, right? So let's go back to, let's switch back to main branch, and I want any code which is present in branch underscore one to come on my branch. So what I'll do is I'll simply do git pull origin branch. I'll add the branch name. So we want to pull some code from the origin of that branch one. The name of the branch has to come here. So I've done this. So now this branch one is is present in main branch also. And of course you have to sync those changes in your you have to press this button. So this button actually does git push, right? So let's reload this page, and you can see now in the main file the branch one is present here, right? Branch one is present here. The code for branch one is present here, right? Okay. Similarly, if I delete this branch, if I delete this file from like main branch, I'm sitting on main branch. I've deleted this file, and there are changes here which have been done. So what I'll do, I'll just commit these changes. Let's name this changes deleted uh, branch one dot txt. Right, I'll add this to commit message, and I'll just commit these changes. So now sync the changes. Now what would happen is, if I reload this page, this branch underscore one txt should have been gone because we are sitting on the main branch. Let's do this. So now it is not, it is gone, right? Let's switch to branch one again, branch underscore one. So branch underscore one dot txt is present on branch underscore one, right? So this is how you can track back your changes. Maybe you deleted those files, like you didn't want to delete those files, but you deleted them by mistake. So this is how you can track back your changes, and you can view your changes whichever you have done in other branches, maybe you in your feature branches, right? So this is the main branch. And of course we can of course take a like we can of course, when we are standing on branch one, let's do git checkout branch one, right? And we'll take a git pull origin main, right? So according to you, what would this code do, right? You can think about it, and you can keep it in your head. Now I'll be telling you what will this do. We are currently standing on branch one, and when I enter this command, any code which is present, which is different, and all the code which is present on main will override the code present in the branch one. Let's do enter here, right? And it deleted the branch underscore one file because it was not present in main, and we were taking a pull from main, right? So got reverted. Now even if I switch to underscore branch, if I switch branches here, I'll be able to see that that code is not visible anymore, right? So just wait a second, maybe changes are not saying. Yeah, so you have to do git push after every change you do. So now you can see branch underscore one, we are sending on this branch, and that code is not present here. That file branch underscore one.txt is not present here. So any doubts till now? So we have discussed Git branching, and we'll of course discuss some flaws from Git branches in further presentation. So any doubts till now, if you're having? Take a water break also. Yeah, thank you, Yash. And let's move forward. So we have understood branching, how it works from this GitHub UI also, and from VS Code also. You don't have to be confused by whenever I say VS Code again and again, because what you can see that you can simply use git bash, and you can do all these things with git bash only. This is git bash only. VS Code is just for so that I can view the code and do the changes like seamlessly without switching any tabs or something like that. So this is why I'm using the integrated git bash. But you can of course, what I said, that you can of course to use git bash here, and you can definitely work with this kind of environment, right? So this is the same command line interface which I'm using here, right? So this is it, right? So this is we've discussed the git branching now, right? So you can have multiple branches. The branches may have different codes, right? Initially the branch is like the branch takes code from the main, and you can definitely, if you want some other branches code on this branch, you can do a git pull origin on and that branch name, right? So there are three commands. So it's git checkout. It for the first command is git branch, which creates the branch and the branch name, and then there's a git checkout, which you can use to switch branches, and then there's a git pull origin main, right? You have to do git push every time, and this will synchronize the changes with your remote branch, right? So this is it, right? This is about branching in git, right? So yeah. So conflicts due to incorrect branching, right? So this is so what is a conflict due to incorrect branching? This may arise as a doubt that what would happen if same file is present on both the branches and it does that and this or whatnot. So what it does, for what I mean by this is, for example, if you are having a main branch, right? If you are having a main branch, let's say this is your main branch. This is a main, let me draw a little bit neater. So just give me a second. So maybe you're having your main branch here, right? And you take another branch out of this main branch, and you try to do implement some features on this branch, right? Okay. You try to implement these features on this branch, and let's say you create a file.txt in this branch, right? You create a file.txt in this branch, right? And of course, on the main branch this file was not present, but some other guy, maybe some guy you don't know, some other guy or girl, right? Some other person basically created another branch earlier than you, and she or he was working on the branch, and they also added a file.txt in their branch, right? And at some point, let's say it got merged with the main branch. So your branch was taken from an instance which was earlier than this merge. Now after this timeline, after this time, this is the main branch. Now the main branch will be having a file.txt also, right? And when you'll try to merge it with the main branch, this will actually create a conflict, because at after this point of time main branch was having file.txt. You also want to add a file.txt. So what should it do? What can it do? So this raises a merge conflict, right? So what is a merge conflict? When you're trying to access the same file, this creates a merge conflict. If I can simulate a merge conflict, that would be nice. Just give me a second. Let's try it. If it doesn't give a merge conflict, then it doesn't matter. So you got the idea of merge conflict. Let's try creating a merge conflict, right? So let me create a new branch here. Just a second. I'll create a new branch here. Branch underscore two, right? I'll create this branch from main. Okay. I've created I've created this branch from branch one. Okay. Okay. So it doesn't matter, right? So we are having the branches. The branch. Just give me a second. Yeah. So we are having branch 1 and branch underscore 2. So let's do git checkout branch. Right. So branch 2 is, I think, not present here. Just give me a second. Do I need to? So branch was created. So branch 1 and underscore 2 is present. Right. So let's okay. One thing we can do is yeah. Okay, so it's not syncing right now, right? So if I open and close this tab, this would definitely work. So let's, if I can delete this terminal and open this terminal again. So if I label to, let's do it. Git checkout name, right? Yeah, git checkout branch. So I think it has not synced yet. So just give me a second. Okay. So this okay. Deleted branch. Okay, so we didn't. Okay. All right. So okay, it doesn't matter. Let's add a file in the main branch only. So we'll add a file here. Let's say we'll add a file touch. Uh, what we'll do is we'll add a file .txt. Right. Now we'll do git checkout. We'll, let's say the file was present on the main branch, but at the time you like pulled it from the main branch, it was not present. Before going, we'll just commit uh, uh, commit xyz. I'll just add a random commit message here. Let's do a commit. Let's sync changes. And now I'll change the branch to branch 1 and add a file.txt file there also, right? So let's add touch file.txt here also, right? So okay, so I've added this file, and this I want to commit also. So commit abc. Let's add any random commit message. So now saying I've synced changes. Now what I want to do is okay, let's add some code also in that file, so that the both files become different. So I've added some changes, right, in this branch, right, in the branch underscore 1, and I'll just commit these changes. Type, let's say, is the commit message. I'll just commit this and I'll just sync the changes, right? So let's check out to the main branch now. Git checkout main. So okay, so what I'll do is I'll do git pull origin branch underscore 1, right? So this actually merged, but yeah, because we already had a file and this file was not having anything else in the thing. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's do some changes here. I'm trying to simulate a merge conflict here, right? So that you can get an idea of how merge conflict works. But I think, yeah. So basically what happens in a merge conflict is, it gives you an option to keep your new changes, keep your older changes, and all those stuff, right? So I am currently trying to do a merge conflict. Like I'll add some random uh, yeah, some random here. So I'll now get checkout branch. Let's go to branch 1 and change the file there also, right? I'll add some things here. Okay, so in branch 1 I've added some code on this file. Now changes are commented, changes are being tracked, so it gives me a feedback that you've done some changes. Okay, so let's do git pull origin main. Let's take a pull from main branch, right? So now there's a merge conflict, right? So you can say that this is now a merge conflict, because both of the file were having something, right? And both of the file were having different data in that. So you have to you can see that there are two three options. First option is accept current change, accept incoming change, accept both changes, compare changes. So what I you can choose any of these things according to this. And this is actually a nightmare for whenever a merge conflict occurs, because sometimes what happens is that there is some feature which you want to implement, and the same file is being changed by two people, and this is what a merge conflict looks like. So you can accept both changes, accept current changes, or accept incoming changes. Sometimes you also lose code, but so you have to take the decision very carefully. Maybe you want to copy paste the code which is present in some other branch. Maybe if I want to copy paste this code and keep it somewhere else, so you have to take some measures in order to work with this merge conflict. So this is a conflict which has occurred, right? So let's do accept current change, and now this merge conflict will be resolved, right? So this is how I'll do this. I'll just remove these messages, merge changes. I'll just stage all the merge changes. I'll just commit this, and now I'll save changes. So this text will be present in the branch underscore one, right? So this is what like a merge conflict is in a branch, right? So we've learned about conflict also. So the next point is reading the contributing only. Any doubts regarding this? Why we more than one branch even we create? Okay, you're saying hello sir, I want to join AccioJob for. All right. So okay, so AccioJob team will get in touch with you regarding that. If you can share your email also, Jamaluddin, right? Okay. Now, yeah, so why do we want more than one branch? So again, as I said, we don't want to create new repositories again and again, because this website is being run from this main branch, and we may want to implement a feature in this repository. So we want to make a new branch, add a feature in that branch, and then we want to ask the merging of that branch. So this is how we can, this is why we need multiple branches instead of multiple repositories, because in case of multiple repositories, the whole folder will be different, right? But you want to work in this domain only, because this website is being run from the main branch of this repository. This website cannot be switching repositories, but it can work on same repository with the same branch. And you can, branches are basically implemented to implement new features without any hassle, right? So this is what is about branches. So any more doubts? We'll be now moving to like contributing in the real world project, right? So okay. So of course you need to read the contributing. There's some points. Let me go through these points quickly. So you need to read the contributing guidelines also of the project. So let's go to here. Actually, I had a repository. So let's say lead code. Uh, just give me a second. So I'll just go to my GitHub profile. Right. I for this presentation I raised the issue to demonstrate. So I'll just go here. Yeah, so this is a repository. You can contribute lead code solutions to it, right? And you can see that there is a guidelines for contributing. Every repository is having a different guidelines to contribute, and every repository is having a certain format which you have to follow, right? Yeah. So what you can do is you can view these guidelines. So contribute a lead code problem. In this repository, you only have to contribute a lead code problem. Always create an issue. You don't have to create pull request before creating an issue. We'll also discuss what is this, right? And we'll issue number you have to write, and then you have to provide these are all the formats which you should give your code in. So we can see that every pull request you can see, let's say this is a pull request, power of 4. We can see the code of this pull request here. Yeah, so we can see that he's following some format, and some the code is being formatted by a formatter provided by the repository owner here, right? So you can see that code should be the serious code should be formatted by this website. Java should be formatted by this. So these are the some guidelines which you should always look for repositories if you want to contribute. Some repositories also provide the steps to contribute, right? Issues and issue tags. So issues, we've discussed issues. What are issues? So issue tags are basically a tag which is provided with the issue. Let's go to free code camps repository. Yeah, let's go to free code camps repository. So you can see that there are issues, and if I type there are labels, and there is also Hacktoberfest label, right, for that issue. Let's do good. There is an issue label called good first issue. Wait a minute. Good. Okay, so they have provided another name for this. So it is first timers only. So there any issues like 555 issues are closed on this repository with the tag first timers only. So if you want to contribute and this is a first time, so good, the repository is also having tags which are saying that good first issue or first timers only. So that you are able to search those issues. So you can use those issue tags to get your issues in the so that get your issue which you are familiar with, right? So building the project is required. So some projects need to get built, so you need to do that, right? For example, one of the project which I was contributing to needed to get built, right? So event board was one of this project. Just give me a second. So yeah, this data umbrella event board was something which I was working on, and I needed to build, and by build I like every technology has different things. So in React we like generally type npm start, right? So when I do this, so it will build my project. Of course, before that I'll have to download my like those instructions are given by the repository owner itself. So now this website is built and I can do changes in this website without harming their own website. So this website is running locally, right? So I'll now exit this, right? So yeah, so this is how I can do the building and all the stuff. So some terminologies we are so pushing, by push we mean that any changes we want to uh, do those changes, we push those changes, right? So this is what pushing means. So every time I was hitting this refresh button, the synchronization button, this is what I was doing, get push. So get push is also a command, right? So fork, so what do I mean by fork? We'll discuss this when we'll start contributing. Issue, cloning a repository to a local system, it actually clones your repository. We'll also cover this. Raising a PR, merging a PR, we'll cover all this stuff when we are doing this activity, right? Staging it up, we have done already. Pull request checks we'll do once our pull request is made, and merge conflict we have already covered in great detail, right? So we've already covered merge conflict. I had to make another slide for this because merge conflict is a problem, is a great problem in this open source contribution, right? So now let's do an activity, right? So let's do an activity where I'll be using GitHub UI, or let's say I'll do let's say yeah, let's use GitHub UI to give a contribution in a repository, right? So I found this repository for you guys, which you can definitely try to contribute to, right? So any doubts till now? I hope not. Any doubts till now? All right. So so this is the repository, the first contributions. You can check out the link here, GitHub/first contributions/first dash contributions. So you can give a first contribution to this repository. Now I'll be using GitHub UI, so I'll not be following these steps which they've given us, but you can definitely follow these steps if you want to learn raising a PR and getting and contributing to a real world project through this, through the command line interface, right? Okay. So all right, so let's find out their guidelines. So you have to fork this repository. All right, let's see what forking does, right? So let's see what does forking do. So I'll click fork here, right? I'll click fork here, and it will I'll just do create fork. Let's see what it happens. So it's now first contribution slash first contribution. Now it's Rohan Fizz slash first contribution forked from first contribution slash first contributions, right? So this is a copy for me on which I can apply changes, and I can ask the changes to be published in the main repository, right? So this is the whole repository copied, and it is under my name now, and this is for me to make any changes if I want to, right? All right. So of course, to contribute you need to create a feature branch. So first thing you need to do is you have to fork a repository. The second thing you need to do, you need to create a feature branch. So let me create a feature branch. I'll create a new branch. Let's say uh, feature branch. The name of this branch is feature branch, right? So again, you want to make a branch to implement a feature, right? So I'll create a feature branch from main. So I've created this branch. So I'm using only GitHub UI right now, right? So I've created this feature branch now, right? All right. So okay. So what I want to do now is I want to make the necessary changes and commit those changes in my branch. So what contribution can we make to this repository? You have to open contributors.md file in text editor, add your name to it. Don't add in the at the beginning or the end of the file, put it anywhere in between. Now save the file. If you go to the project directly, execute the command git status. So you have to again git add dot and all those commands, but in the GitHub like environment like GitHub UI, you don't have to do those things. I'll just go to contributors.md, right? I'll just go here. I'll just edit this file in GitHub profile only. I'll just add my name here, here, maybe here, right? So I'll just add in the format which everyone has given their name. So Rohan Sharma, right? And add a bracket here because everyone is adding a bracket and they're providing a link to their profile here, right? So I'll just add my GitHub profile, right? GitHub slash version, right? I'll just copy this link and I'll just paste it in here. I think this is not visible. I'll just create make it bold. So I've pasted my link. I've added my name. So all right. So now I'll do. I'll just commit the changes. This is the first contribution, like a baby steps you can do to start contributing. So I've done this commit to the feature branch of under my repository under my fork, right? So I've done these changes, right? So let's go back. Let's go to code, right? Feature branch has recent pushes less than a minutes ago. Compare and pull request. So let's give a pull request now because we are ready. Maybe we made the necessary changes. Push the change to GitHub. We have already done that. Now we have to do the compare and pull request. So what you can do is you can do compare and pull request from here only, or you can go to their website, and also their repository, and it will also show here compare and pull request. We'll do a compare and pull request. We'll say added my name. We now this is a pull request. This is a pull request I'm creating. So my added my let's say name in contributors.md. Also you need to keep in mind anything you maybe any guideline regarding this also. So we'll also take a look at this, right? So okay, submit changes for review. Now submit the pull request. Add this is you. Okay, so yeah, so this is all we need to do. So I'll just added my name in contributors.md, and we don't need to leave comments. Some repositories are having some formats which you have to follow, but yeah, let's do a create and pull request. Now the pull request is created under the name of the main branch, and it got automatically merged. Maybe they have a bot enabled, but actually what happens is that some guy or some person comes here and actually reviews your code, whatever changes you've done, and they give you feedback on it, and then you basically have to make changes if necessary, and then now you have merged your first pull request. So I've got my first pull request merged here, right? So this is how you can start contributing if you want to use a GitHub UI. If you want to contribute to GitHub UI, the process is pretty much same in the GitHub VS Code also. It's just that we do the changes. We create a feature branch from here. We do the changes, and we basically commit the changes on our branch, and compare pull request we do from here. Basically, I prefer to do that from here, right? So I have created the pull request, and pull request is closed, right? So yeah. So let's see in the main code of this contributors.md. Let's see contributors.md. Just give me a second. Let's find the Rohan. Yeah. So it is saying Rohan Face updated contributors.md. So now you can see my name is present here, which I added just right now. And when you click it, you can visit my GitHub page. So this is how we can contribute to a real world project in GitHub, right? So you have to read the contributors guideline. You have to fork the repository. You have to create a feature branch. Then if you're resolving an issue, you can also add the issue resolving tag in that branch, and then you're like good to go. And then you compare and pull, and you're good to go, right? So hope everyone is with me, right? Hope I yeah. So is it clear? Is it clear how we contribute to a repository? Are there any doubts regarding this? Anyone? Yeah, thank you, Chinmay. So I guess we'll be moving forward. So we have done like push commit, like we've committed the repository now, and now we can move ahead, we can contribute to a real world project, right, using like VS code, right. We've already worked with branches and we know how to switch branches with GitHub, and we like now we have also done this activity of contributing a real world project using GitHub UI. Now we can move on to discuss how to do it with VS code, right. So yeah, so VS code is pretty basic. You don't have to be so like you don't have to know a lot of stuff. So but of course we'll be covering some new things in this also. So let's say I want to contribute, let's say let me go to this, maybe I'm having that fork already, so I'll just delete that fork, and I'll just give me a second. I will be now contributing to a different repository using GitHub, using VS code, right. So just give me a second. Yeah, so I want to contribute to this free programming books, right. So what I've done till now in this repository is this is the repository we want to contribute using GitHub, right. So what this repository basically does is basically I've found these repositories so that you can get your hands on experience, and their contributions are not so difficult to do, and they're not so technical to do. So what you can do is you can learn, you can get free access to free books which are present on online, and free courses which are present, right. So this is what you can contribute in this repository. So I've just forked this repository, and this has made the new fork under my name, right. So now what I'll do, I'll just first sync this fork, right. Now the branch is up to date, right. My fork is now up to date. Now I can start contributing. Now since we want to do it using VS code, I'll just open a new window of VS code. Let's say I open new window of VS code, right. Now new windows VS code is open, and what I want to do is I want to copy this for the link to my fork. I'll copy this fork, and I'll type here Control Shift P, right. And I'll I'll press git clone here. You can type, you can search clone, and it will give you an option of git clone here. I'll just paste the link to the repository I want to clone, and it'll ask you to select a folder you want to clone this repository into, right. So let's just do this in this only, right. Okay, so this is already having .get, so let's create a new folder, free pro, right. So this is git clone. This basically copies the whole repositories and saves that your to your local system. So I've selected this repository option. It is actually just give me a second. Maybe there's some error, so I'll just reload this page. Yeah, yeah. So the main was not a thing. So I actually didn't copy the correct link to that repository. So let's do that process again. So Control Shift P. We'll do a git clone. We'll paste the link. I'll select the new folder which free programming books. I'll select this repository. Now cloning is begin. Now now like the my system is downloading the code, and we will add this code to your new this VS code. You like to open clone repository, we'll open it, and now it has opened it. Opened the new the repository. Now the all those files, .github books, casts, courses, every file is present here. So I want to now create a feature branch, right? So let's create a feature branch. Let's create a new branch. Uh, let's name it as feature branch, right? Let's create a new branch which is called feature branch. All right. We've created this branch. Let's publish this branch and on origin only. Right, so we have created this feature branch here. I'll just reload, and now you can see that there is something called feature branch present here. If you can, feature branch. So feature branch is present here now, right? Here also, right? So now I'll do the changes in this branch. So what changes can I contribute? So I searched on YouTube for courses. So I found bit manipulation coding. So this is the branch, this is the like course I want to contribute to this repository. Copy the link to this like playlist just for contribution to this repository. I'll just copy this share link of this playlist, and I'll just go to courses, and I want to find out the course free course dot hi in Hindi, right? And what I want to do, I'll just reduce the size a little bit, and there's a thing here called algorithms, right? So also the like you should read the uh, contributing guidelines also here. So they've given contributing guidelines. So just give me a second. So yeah, how to contribute. So please read contributing. You can see that contribute in a nutshell. So you should give you should make sure that resource is free or not giving the a bad resource here, right? And like you should add a link, and undo domain, strip the slash instead of. Okay, so you don't have to add the slash. So there are a lot of guidelines. There are a lot of good formatting they are using. Always present shortlisted link. Yeah. So this is what you should keep in mind. Right. So please note on the comments. All right. Include the author name. We have to include the author name, and like everyone has done here. So they've done. So you can see that they're following A B C. They're following a pattern, right? So they're following alphabetic pattern here. So we also have to add this. The name of this playlist was let me check. Bit manipulation only. Bit manipulation dash level 2. Have to add this playlist here. So let's say so it should come after this, right? So I'll just I'll just search first if it's not present here. So yeah, the course is not present here, so definitely I'm adding a unique course to it. So what I'll do is I'll add bit manipulation. Let's first add the link here and say that this link is provided by pep coding, right? And then we can copy the name of this so we don't do any typos, right? So we've added this to our feature branch, right? So we've added this to a feature branch. Now what we can do is, since we have made a change in this file, right? This is a real world project, right? So since we have made the changes file, we can just simply do uh, added course, added bit manipulation course in Hindi, right? So I'll just commit this change. I'll send the changes. Right, and in the feature branch, you will be able to see that. Let's switch to feature branch. Yeah, feature branch is having new stuff. So what you can do is you can compare and pull request. Now I'm making a pull request on that thing. So now you can see that they are following a format of contributing to this repository. So added Bitcoin course in Hindi. All right. Add for resources, uh, courses. I added a course here, right? So added a bit manipulation in the this topic is widely. I can add some comments, so that the review, it can help reviewer a little bit to verify my PR. So added bit manipulation question in the this topic is widely asked in uh, technical interviews, right? Why is this valuable or not? Mm, this topic is widely as in I can copy paste here. This topic widely in technical interviews. How university? Like I have to give a proof, so it is freely available on YouTube. For committing, I would like to test my link which I've added here. So I've added this link. So I'll just uh, control click here and see if this works. Just give me a second. This link and paste this link. So yeah, this link is working. So now I can verify it. So for books links, okay, now I can give a create pull request, right? Now see what happens. So I've created a pull request here on this real world project. I've read the contributing guidelines. I've searched for duplicates. I've included authors and platform name. I've put in alphabetical order. uh, that was not needed. If used informative name to this use, and yeah, I've definitely used an informative name to to my pull request, right? So it is now checking for some things in my commit, right? So what is it, what is it checking? It is checking for typos which I've done, maybe some link is bad, right? It has checked the like format of my, like I've given alphabetical. Now all checks have passed, which means that the owner of this repository can successfully merge this PR into the main repository, right? Now, and this will count as a contribution, right? Mind you that this repository was also participating in Hacktoberfest, right? But later it got removed because the PRs are really simple. So what I would advise is to give a PR to a like more famous repository, or maybe a technical PR where like you actually contribute a code or something like that. Now since I've done a pull request, now I have to wait so that a contributor comes and checks here, and then he can pass my PR. So this is how we do a pull request. We do a pull request using you can also say we can contribute code using this on open source platforms, right? So this is yeah. Is it the same, the same way of doing the PR? Definitely, Shaurya. This is how you have to do PR in Hacktoberfest also. Since once you let me show you my Hacktoberfest profile also. So give me a second. This for this year profile. So by my account, I there were you would used to do four, but I actually did 8 PRs from my account, right? So because just in case, so that one doesn't get affect, so that one get rejected, so other can do work. But I was actually successfully able to avail the prize of Oktoberfest, right? And yeah, so these are all the PRs I've done. So you can say you can see many of my PRs are not accepted, and we can also definitely view on GitHub. Some of them are not yet accepted and are under review. And yeah, this is we can view on GitHub. I actually did a good PR, and I since I failed one of the check, I had to close this PR, right? So I had to make another PR, keeping in mind to, yeah. So this repository was actually a part of Hacktoberfest, and you can find more such repositories to contribute to Hacktoberfest. So yeah, this is how you can contribute to Hacktoberfest. And of course, if you are able to code some, if you're able to provide a code to Hacktoberfest, then like to a repository in Hacktoberfest, then that would be great, because they have a low chance of getting not accepted. Like in this repository only, you can see ebooks foundation has not accepted my PR. So yeah, so you should definitely try to find some good repositories for Hacktoberfest also, right? So yeah, is there any limit on make PR Hacktoberfest? No, you can make as many as you like, but of course, if you are able to do 4 PRs, then you will be able to avail the price of the T-shirt, right? So you just have to make them merge 4 PRs to the Hacktoberfest, and they should be accepted till at least for 1 week before getting accepted as counted as a Hacktoberfest like contribution. So yeah, this is what and Hacktoberfest also we need to do. And Hacktoberfest in my if I discuss my journey also, I also started with Hacktoberfest, and Hacktoberfest 2020. I didn't know anything about open source. I just read their tutorials, and then I started giving contributions. And now I also give contribution to. I'm active contributor at one of the Python libraries also. Right. So any questions for me? So I'm actually done with the presentation, right? So we have done all the activities. We can discuss Gitpod. So Gitpod is nothing but basically it provides it builds the projects for you, right? So for example, if let's say if for example Shaurya wants to work on a project which is based on React, so he can use Gitpod to build that project. So let's take you to the Gitpod platform, right? So continue with GitHub. I want to continue with GitHub. I'll just log in now GitHub, right? So if I go to this page, now now Gitpod will manage everything. I'll just have to add my repository to Gitpod, and then he will build and give me a VS Code type environment in Gitpod itself, right? So this is what you can get saved by this, so that you don't have to go after the Hacktoberfest. Does the open source have more benefits? uh Look, man, like of course, like if you are able to contribute to GSOC, you can, get linked to the organization, and GSOC is a great way, and you should start contributing from now only. Now, like right now it's November, so if you get uh, get a become a part of an organization, then it's really great for you, right? For GSOC also, right? So other than this, of course, like you, if it depends on your interest, if you want to give open source contribution, and of course it of course helps you to work collaboratively on a project if you want to in future, right? So this is what it is. So any doubts for me now? Any questions, any more queries? We are open for Q&A. Yeah. So any queries before we end this? I'm waiting for queries. I'll just give 2-3 minutes and then we'll be done with this presentation. Yeah, thank you for attending, Shaurya, and hope you learned something new today. We did hands-on GitHub, and we did a lot. We discussed a lot of beautiful things, which don't many of the like tutorials available on YouTube don't cover these things. So I guess that this is the correct way of doing teaching the open source thing. You should always try to give a hands-on experience to a student, right? So hopefully you like this session. So if you like this session, you can subscribe to AccioJob channel also. They are also providing you with such a great content. So definitely they also deserve a lot of credit for that, right? So yeah. So any more doubts, Sorda? If you are having any more doubts, or anyone else? Yeah. Thank you to you, Chinmay, also for joining in this session, and uh, coming here and showing your will to learn something new. Right. That's really great of you guys. All right. So regarding the certificate, so you'll have to connect to the AccioJob team. Maybe you can ask at that in comment section. Yeah. Any more doubts, guys? Now we'll be ending the session. Yeah. So thank you, Shaurya, for joining. Thank you, everyone, for joining and connecting with us, and uh, attending this event. And it's great to have people who want to learn something, right, in this community. So thank you, everyone. Now we'll be ending the session. Hope you all have a great day.